Hello and welcome to Will Watches. This is Monster Hunter. So I am an avid Monster Hunter fanboy. I've been playing since I was 10 whenever Monster Hunter Tri came out on the Wii. I played almost all of the games that have come out since then on, mainly on 3DS or Switch. I haven't actually played World because I didn't have a PS4 at the time, but I've played a lot of these games, so I'm a big fan. And also, I am not expecting this to be a good movie. I'm kind of going into this knowing that it has very bad critical reception, very bad fan reception. I'm going into this expecting, hopefully it's so bad it's good, but maybe it's just not redeemable at all. The director, Paul Anderson, he doesn't have a good track record from my knowledge of video game movies. He always does these video game movies with his wife, Mila Djokovic, and she kind of carries the kind of reputation, I guess. She's like the main draw for these movies that some of like the general audience kind of know her as a bit of a star and they come for her really, and that's about it. I'm not expecting this to be good. I'm just, I'm expecting one or two monsters. I've heard that there aren't actually that many monsters in this film. Of course, there's probably going to be Rathalos, but I really don't know what I'm going into here, to be honest. I know that it's like people in the real world who have been transferred into the Monster Hunter world. It's not like a story that actually takes place in the Monster Hunter universe. I can see why Capcom might have been convinced by that, because isekai is quite a big genre in Japan, so they might have heard, make it an isekai so it will appeal to Western audiences as well, because you can get a Western main actor. But I don't know, I'm just not expecting this to be great. Before we jump into it, be sure to check out the Patreon. Over there you can find early access, full-length timer-based reactions where you just sync up your own footage so you can see anything that I cut out of the YouTube cut, and you have access to polls so you can vote for what's next. So yeah, let's just jump into Monster Hunter. Okay, that is cool, a sand ship. Will there be any monsters swimming in the sand? A Darren Moorhean, perhaps? They're heading towards that tower. And that's Ron Perlman, isn't it? I've heard that he's in this, actually. Oh, Diablos. Being hunted by some Diablos. The effects so far look actually quite good. I quite like this tone they're setting up at the start here. I think production-wise, like CGI-wise, it looks okay, but some of the costuming and the set looks a bit cheap, but not too bad so far. Starting off with a big action scene, of course. Oh, did he just get impaled by the horn? Oh, and he's just left behind. Not sure how I feel about this score. I actually quite like it, but I don't know if it fits the Monster Hunter theming. It's quite high tech almost, the synthesizer and stuff. And to show in the real world they've got some Coca-Cola. I don't think Our World was really necessarily the title card.
Storm incoming. Zero visibility. Request immediate support.
A storm incoming. I'm going to assume the storm is what takes them into the Monster Hunter world, because we saw the storm around that tower before. I think maybe the plot will revolve around that tower. There's like a portal there for them to get back somehow.
Damn, Marshall, you got hella reflexes.
Okay, is it going to be this whole team that's transported there? In kind of setting their personality for some of them up. One's got good reflexes.
But the tracks end here.
It just disappears.
Bravo team reported a storm in their last transmission.
Hostiles using it for cover.
An ambush, like in Hellman?
Let's not find out.
So the storm could take them there. That means the other team has already been transported there.
Copy that.
Of course, showing a family, setting up, he's a family man a bit. And she's married, or at least was married.
In case I get my head blown off, they can still tell who I am.
Until he gets his head blown up. I'm going to remember that. If someone loses their head at some point, there's definite foreshadowing.
There's more guns! What the hell is that? Watch out! Get it!
Some of this dialogue isn't amazing. Yeah, it's definitely, you know, it's seeing that tower over and over again. That's either what's causing all of this, or that's where they need to go to get home.
How do we get so far from the road?
I don't know. Axe, get on one of those dunes and set up an observation point.
Yes, boss.
They're, you know, accepting this really easily. They're just like, oh, we're just far away from the road. They're not. But they'd be panicking a bit more. I know they're like trained military, so they expect weird things, but
When we get comms, we'll call in recovery assets to retrieve the bodies.
What happened to them?
Flamethrowers.
yeah, it's like one's been burnt alive.
Never seen a flamethrower do this to a man. Not even napalm burns that hot.
Or breathing fire.
It's glass.
They turn the sand to glass.
When sand melts, it turns to glass.
Your shoes are mighty fine.
You ask for size 11, they give you size 9.
I heard about that, the whole size 9 thing. Isn't that a thing? It's like they don't have enough boot sizes, so they just give everyone size 9 in some of the wars whenever they run out of resources. Skeleton or something.
It has to be a dinosaur, right?
Saw a dinosaur in a museum one time. It wasn't that big.
What is it the skeleton of, though? Oh no, that does look like a Darren Moran. So it is there in some sense. It's just the skeleton of one. We didn't actually see the actual one. It looked like it's from the shape of the skull.
Diablos.
Diablos just run the desert. Yeah, there's no chance their guns are going to do anything against them, probably. And the CGI on it does look really good. I have to give it to them. They've like nailed the monster designs. Ooh, it looked like one of the guys was caught up with the car that it flipped. The use of slow-mo is a bit weird. Where is it? Was it gone? Or it just flipped them over then went away? Oh, there we go. We suddenly got that big wide shot, and I don't know, did they forget to put this to CGI it back in, or what? Drop it in his mouth, yeah. I didn't even go in his mouth. It's probably still alive. And he's got, you know, some of the more traditional Monster Hunter weapons. I don't know if it's the same Black Diablos that attacked his ship. Oh, a piece of its horn fell off. Hopefully make that into a weapon or something, you know, at least try and tie in some of that aspect of the game where you make weapons and armor out of the monsters.
Now I got 3 left. What about you?
Oh, Nessilus, like a spider, giant spider, yeah. That's 2 monsters so far. The skeleton of 1. I thought he had impaled her at first, but it looked like he just grabbed onto her.
Unacceptable. Try it again.
I'm sorry.
Shit, there's more of them!
There's no way she dies this early. Yeah, the whole swarm.
I'm sorry.
Master Sergeant!
Are they gonna leave her behind and then that other guy comes to save her? No, part of this almost reminds me of Avatar a bit. You have the native who is in tune with nature a bit more, who is really good at everything. Then you have like kind of militarized foreigners who are coming in. They're not really coming in to profit off anything in this. Oh, okay, so we've lost quite a lot of the team at this point. That was Marshall that we lost. So we still have Dash, the leader. I think Dash is the only name I picked up on so far, actually. Yeah, I was wondering what I was looking at there. So they've caught a lot of humans. I guess there's humans already in this world. There's not just humans from Earth. I'm just like thinking, like, if you didn't even know about the movies, what would you be thinking at this point? It's like they've suddenly been shot in there. There's all of this action. Suddenly there's giant spiders. She's trapped. It is very fast paced, so I'll give it that at least. But I thought, you know, there's that native guy who was like helping them. I thought they would have met him by now already, you know? I wouldn't light a flare. That must attract so much. Yeah, look at it from the outside. Oh, they are growing on him. I did think that when he said the pain in my chest, I was like, are they hatching out of him? Ugh. Kind of playing quite into the horror element here, because I know they did the Resident Evil ones before. This is actually much more gruesome than I was expecting. So is she the last survivor now? This is almost like a survival horror or just like survival movie so far. Was she... Gunpowder on a wound? Is that a thing? Oh, okay, yeah. Burn it, okay. Yeah, cauterize the wound closed. They're really loving all of these shots zooming out and showing the landscape, aren't they? But the thing is, it's not like... This is all desert based. There's nothing here that's like, I guess, iconic to Monster Hunter. I'm not like going, oh, this is this area from this game, you know? That should prove to her that there's intelligent life, there's humans here. Yeah, the sand is just a no-go zone. Oh, there's some weapons. If they go with weapons, I wonder what they'll be. Okay, so he doesn't speak English. I thought he did, but that's just because he said Diablos before. Oh. Why is he attacking her though? Like it saved her life like twice.
Get off me!
Is he just like taking her somewhere safe, away from the Nursula? So he's got a bow, obviously. I reckon it makes sense for her to have a greatsword, because greatsword is like the most iconic thing in Monster Hunter, weapon-wise. Or like a switch axe, something that would only be in Monster Hunter. Cheers. That's the first drink she's had this whole time. That was quite a cool move. He obviously knows his stuff, the actor, or it might be a stunt double. They're just wrecking the place. It looked like they took down a column earlier that could collapse this whole cave, you know? They're really just dragging out this fight scene. The film, you know, is quite a lot of shaky king. Some of that felt quite hard to follow. She's gonna help him now, help each other.
Look. Here. Food.
Chocolate! Do you want chocolate?
I don't have any more. No. I have weapons. Diablos.
Yeah, it's not gonna work on it. He had some weapons. It looked like he had a sword as well in his cave, actually.
Diablos.
Diablos.
Nesera.
Get them to fight each other.
What?
What was with that sound cue there, along with his smile? Okay, they've laid a trap. Is it going to be a trap from a game? Oh, and he's got a great sword. Oh, I mean, the monsters never go down that easy in reality, do they? But, yeah. Yeah, they are using a bit of the Monster Hunter lore in terms of using something from another monster to kill another one, because you like build a weapon out of something. I don't know if she'll build that stinger into a weapon, but she's going to like use it as a weapon at least to kill the Diablos. So that is like an element that they've taken.
Is that your family? Mir. Gisin.
I kind of like that they haven't done, they haven't given, you know, he doesn't just randomly speak English. There is like that bit of a language barrier between them.
Latalos.
Okay. Why does he need a Rathalos for? Was there going to be one? It's quite gruesome, actually. They're not holding back. I didn't see what age rating this is, actually. Set up a catapult. You know, Diablos has got quite a lot of armor, so he probably needs to hit it in a good place for it actually to connect.
Wow.
I think this came out after World but before Rise, because his greatsword looks like the greatsword from World. He's got dual blades, okay. And some of the mystical elements as well. This feels almost like a survival film. They're like trapped on this island. Obviously, it's surrounded by sand, not water, but it is almost like a kind of castaway where they're trapped somewhere. That was cool, seeing it from his perspective a bit.
Stop!
Yeah, if it's going off the vibrations, if you just stop. Can't detect you. I hope it isn't an RPG that's used to kill it. Seems a bit too human focused, I guess. You know, I do really like the CGI on it. It even looks like it had sand on it a bit when it came out the sand there, and right in its eye, that's the perfect spot. But it might take a bit for the poison to actually take effect. Okay, I am glad it isn't going down that easily. I thought poisoning it, you know, it's a bit too easy. You know, the game's just notorious how difficult they are to take down the monsters. Oh, right in his head. Ooh. Yeah, he's just kind of drive that further into his head. You know, this came out before Rise, when Rise had the whole grapple mechanic, but you know, that was still with all of the bugs. That it wasn't like mechanical like hers. I hope they go in and harvest the Diablos a bit for parts, make better armor. Oh, she is. Oh, she's using it as a sled though. Okay. I do wonder what like a general audience would think of this. Like, so far, you see it as kind of like a survival film. There's these like cool monsters. I don't know. When you're watching a movie, you can tell like if something is special or not. You know. So I mean, even if you didn't have any Monster Hunter knowledge, you think this is okay, like okay action flick, but nothing special. They're doing this very like disorienting filmmaking quite a lot. You know, when they got transported into the world, obviously there was like some visions and some flashes and stuff. But there's a few times where it's disorientating, but sometimes it's on purpose and sometimes it's not. It feels like they're going really overboard with the sound design. Like whenever someone does something, there's always like a big whoosh sound. You know, you expect there to be some sound effects, but it feels very loud whenever it happens. Okay, into a more jungle area. Hopefully we'll see some more monsters, because we've literally seen 2 so far. Okay, that's cool. Apsaros, yeah. See something a bit more safe, you know? Not just showing that all of the monsters are evil out to kill you. What was that? I didn't get a good look at it. How he knew that that was coming.
Chocolate.
Does he think chocolate just means food? Something's here. They look like flying. Is it Rathalos? They can't have the movie and not have Rathalos in it, you know? And he has name dropped Rathalos as well. Yeah. Oh, someone new. Yeah, it was Ron Perlman. I'm glad that they haven't shied away from some of the more kind of fantasy stuff, having the swords actually on fire.
Don't thank me yet.
He speaks English, okay. What does that mean though? Is he from our world, or is he does he just learn English somehow, or do all of them know English? They actually have a pelican in here. And they have one cooking as well, just like in the games, making a steak.
What are you so afraid of?
Your world and what it could do to mine.
Yeah, I guess so.
There were others. Long time ago.
So, okay, so quite a long time ago. Even war weapons now? Does Ron Perlman's character look like he had a switch axe maybe? Or maybe it is just a regular axe? No, that is a really cool landscape shot actually, that one. And they're in like a volcano area as well. There's lava all about. And that ancient civilization. That is actually quite cool. And having the Rathalos's heads as like gargoyle statues.
It's creating a gateway to your world, but it looks unstable.
Yeah, so there's just like a few portals that open here and there. Suddenly they've got this big team. They're going to be attacked and half of this team's going to be wiped out. I'm imagining by Rathalos. Glass.
Estevo and Rathalos.
Rathalos.
See, are they speaking a made-up language, or is it an actual one? Because Esteban, that sounds Spanish, right? It's gonna be a jump scare. It's gonna be right on top of them or something. Okay, the Rathalos does look really good. Big and intimidating as well, like exactly what you want from Rathalos.
Hey, ugly!
Yeah, showing some of the showing his weakness. His mouth fills up with gas first before it breathes fire. I mean, that is really cool. Yeah, there's definitely some characters here that look more disposable than others. She's got a grapple anyway. Or is that her going back to Earth? Not going to end just like that. They barely even fought the Rathalos. I thought they'd like take it down at least. That seemed very anticlimactic. That sounds like wing beats. Has it come through too? Oh.
Let's get her inside!
How did they it just show? She shows up randomly in the desert and they're at the exact location. They've just flown back in. Oh, no, that's Rathalos coming through. Yeah, I thought it was way too easy. There's no way it's done yet. So Rathalos is in our world now. Yeah. It's a cool reveal. All of these people just suddenly finding out, you know, this dragon exists. Like superhero landing almost to face her. I don't know what those two little things she picked up were. Are they explosives or she's just going to use the knife? A stripper holding its wing that could be effective. Stop it from flying. Yeah, it's an explosive, right? Ooh. Yeah, blow it up from the inside.
Got you.
Yeah, no. I wish one explosive could kill a Rathalos, you know? Never gonna happen. So he came through as well? But he is really messed up, like the side of its face is all burnt up. It's like the valve or something, wherever the gas that it uses comes from, yeah. So he just jumped for as well? He's here as well now? How's he gonna get back?
It's starting again.
Oh, another Rathalos? Oh, Gormagala. It does look really cool. Using it like an insect glaive. This end. Okay, so they do all come back. That wasn't Link, was it? Her friend that died from you know, getting the eggs on him. That looked like that could be him. Okay, so that was Monster Hunter. That wasn't as terrible as I thought. There were actually some redeeming qualities and moments here. I think all of the best stuff is the fighting the monster stuff, especially the Rathalos fight towards the end, the kind of the first half of the Rathalos fight when they're still in the kind of Monster Hunter world. I think that worked really well. Ron Perlman's character, when, you know, he's got his sword and it's a light and it's actually kind of using some of these powers, I think that works really well. Like when he did his sword attack and it pushed out like a burst of flames that hit the Rathalos, that was all really cool. And I think a lot of the CGI here was good. All of the CGI when it comes to the monsters worked really well. I think they treated the monsters quite well. You know, they weren't like super easy to kill. It did take a lot of effort to kill them, especially like with the Rathalos. There's a bit where you think it's dead and then it gets back up. And you know, the games, they are very notorious for how difficult it is to take down some of these monsters. So I'm glad it wasn't just like shoot them in the eye once and they're gone. You know, the Diablos, they proper had to like get it in the brain, and then with the Rathalos it got back up again, and then they hit it again with all of the explosions exploding, kind of like the gas, the flammable gas that's inside it, however that's made biology wise. So I think all of that worked quite well, kind of the monster side of it. The monster side of it and some of the visuals with the CGI looked really good. I do wish we had got more monsters, especially more iconic monsters, because Rathalos, Diablos, like Gore Magala, they're probably the most iconic ones we got in here. And I counted 5 that I could name in the whole movie, in the whole like 2-ish hours movie. You know, it's a Monster Hunter movie. They could have included so many more. I would have liked to see a Lagiacrus or like a Jaggy or Jagia. They would have been cool, like as like Velociraptor type things, or an Angiraffe. I know this came out kind of around the time of Monster Hunter World, so you know, having that as like the box art monster, it seems like that's kind of like an obvious tie-in to have. I just wish, you know, we had got a bit more from like the monster side. I think because there is so few monsters, we did get like quite a big focus on the Diablos and the Rathalos, and the CGI for them was really good. So I guess it did give them a bit more time to kind of work on the modelling for the few monsters that they had in there. But I did feel a bit lacking in that department. And I think just story-wise, I'm not sure how I feel about the isekai, you know, going into another world. I get, you know, you want to have a stand-in for the audience. So you bring in a character from an outside place, and then the world can be kind of described to them and explained. But I don't think that's really necessary for Monster Hunter. Like, is it that difficult of a concept to grasp? There's monsters and we hunt them down and use their bones, you know? You could set it all in the Monster Hunter universe, and then just the first scene, you see someone fighting a monster. The next scene, you see them with a weapon that's made out of their head or made out of a part of their body. That, you know, you can convey that quite easily, I think. And I think a movie just set in the Monster Hunter world would probably be a better way to go about it. That's what I would have done. I did actually appreciate how it wasn't necessarily gory, but it was quite violent actually. And there was some kind of like body horror when the guy had all the eggs on him. There was some stuff in there that I quite liked, and I quite appreciated that it didn't like feel like it was holding back necessarily. There wasn't like too much guts and gore when it comes to like the human deaths, but there was still like enough here. I didn't see what rating this is, but I imagine it's like a 15, not a complete 18 rating. They didn't like hold back too much, which I actually quite appreciated, because there is some like, you kind of have to go into some of the detail, like harvesting some of the monsters for parts and things like that. I think it would have been great if she had actually like made some armor out of the Diablos hide, you know, after she killed it. We saw she had the piece of its horn, and I thought she was going to make something out of that as well, because that is such an element of the games, is, you know, you have all of these different armors based off of the different monsters. So I feel like that's quite an easy thing to like tie into a movie, you know. As a fan of the games, there was some stuff I enjoyed, but I feel like for the most part it was a bit of a letdown. And then I'm just trying to think of like, if you went into this without any experience with the games, would you enjoy this as well? And I think probably not. It doesn't feel like it's super accessible. Like, I feel like the start is, but suddenly it kind of rushes into all of this stuff that is very gamey, and that's the stuff I really like. But I don't know, you know, suddenly there's a Pelico there's talking cats. I don't think that's that big a leap for an audience to make. If you went in blind, I don't think you would enjoy this either. You know, in terms of like filmmaking stuff, there's a lot of stuff here that just isn't that great. I found some of the movie quite disorientating. You know, there's a lot of stuff where it's like flashing images and stuff. Like that makes sense when they're getting transported into the world, but it just happens over and over and over again. Anytime, like so many times when someone's like knocked out or something like that. And then kind of like pacing wise, it feels very rushed towards the end, but at the start it was actually quite slow. You know, we get the first attack with the Diablos, and the sand ship, and then the real world attack with the Diablos, and then we get all of the stuff with the spiders, the Nusculus. I'm not sure if I pronounced that one right, but that first portion when they're like stuck on this island, it's almost like a survival movie. You know, it could work as like its own little survival movie, but that bit was quite slow. But even though it was slow, it felt well paced. I feel like the rest, we just kind of rushed into the Rathalos fight. Suddenly it was over. Suddenly we're in the real world. Then the Rathalos is back, of course. It just all wrapped up super quick. It's like they spent too much time in the beginning setting up stuff that was kind of unnecessary, and then didn't have enough time at the end for everything. There was this bit where it felt like they're just kind of retreading the same ground when see, I don't have anyone's names. I don't think I have a name of a single character. I have Dash and Link, and they are characters that died right at the start. So there's the native guy who's like helping her. Native, I mean, as in native to the Monster Hunter world. I don't think he's Native American. I think he's Asian. But he was like, you know, the soldiers were all fighting, and then he was helping them out from afar with his bow. And then I thought, okay, you know, they're going to be introduced, maybe a bit of conflict, and then they'll get to know each other. And then there was the whole stuff with the spiders again, and that just repeated again. It was just like the same plot point used twice. We didn't necessarily need that a second time, you know? And then I think one thing that really let us down is just kind of performances, especially some of the kind of like army crew. You know, they're trying to build up this camaraderie between them, but there's not really much payoff for that because they're just killed off instantly and killed off almost without any emotion. The only, you know, we see a bit of emotion when, I think Link was his name, when he died. We see a bit of emotion there, but like just in general, she didn't really react when anyone died, and we as an audience never got any of that connection, so we feel nothing when they died. Like, it's a good way to show off how strong these monsters are, but there's just no connection there. And then, you know, this bit where Dash was her name, she was like, oh, we're all gonna die, what's going on, we're stuck in this world. Honestly, the performance there, I didn't like that at all. And then just the way the characters reacted to the situation, she was the only one who reacted in like a semi-realistic way. Everyone else was just like shrugged it off, went along with it. Okay, here we are, we're in a random desert, miles away from people. Let's keep going. And I know, you know, they're soldiers, they're supposed to be like stoic, but they're not. They just didn't question anything. I also know that there was some controversy with this in China. Now, I don't know what the controversy was specifically. I haven't like looked into that, but what I'm imagining here is something to do with Chocolate. I think I'm just going to call him Chocolate. It's the closest thing I have like for a name for him. So Chocolate, the kind of native guy to the Monster Hunter world. We're seeing this Asian character who is a lot of the time portrayed as, he's like smart in the sense of practicality and like being in this world. It's a trope we see quite a lot. Like, there's a lot of similarities here with Avatar and the Na'vi, and like Jake Sully being the outsider, like an outsider coming in, and there's like a native person who's like in touch with nature, but they're still kind of portrayed as stupid in some sense. And most of that is just like because of the language barrier. Like, there was the running joke about chocolate. He called anything that was like delicious chocolate. You know, that makes sense because of the language barrier. That's like an in-universe reason why it makes sense. But you still, whenever there's like an in-reason universe for something to make sense, you still have to acknowledge that they could have just changed that in-universe reason. There doesn't have to be an in-universe reason all the time. They could, out of universe, changed it to something like he just knew English the whole time for some reason. You know, that's not completely unbelievable. I did like that there was a bit of a language barrier, but again, they kind of like portray him as almost like this kind of caveman in a way. There is like this stupidity kind of portrayed with him. That might be where some of the issue comes from, but that is like quite a common trope, I think. I think the issue comes from portraying him as kind of more primal, you know? So I think like that's where some people could find offense with that. Again, I'm not 100% sure if that's where the controversy comes from, but like that's what I'm imagining after seeing this movie. And you know, they left this off on a cliffhanger, so they were obviously hopeful that there'd be like a part 2 and things. You know, bringing in more monsters would definitely be a good way to go. And you know, with a sequel, hopefully there's a higher budget, they can bring in lots more monsters. That's what I would hope happens. And then it looked like they were setting up that Link had like survived and was still there. It looked like him. But I think there was some interesting stuff that they didn't quite explore enough. All of the stuff to do with Ron Perlman's character, where he said there's people that have come before and it caused wars. You know, there's some quite interesting things that could have gone on there. Some themes of like imperialism and things along those lines that could have worked really well. But the film just, you know, ticks it off the box and then moves on to something else. Exploring that in a sequel could work well, but I don't imagine a sequel would actually happen, nor do I like really want it. If they did another monster film, just like reboot it, just do a film in universe. You know, there's loads of things you can explore with that would work a lot better than kind of the way they've set up things at the moment. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, consider leaving a like or a comment. And if you really loved it, be sure to subscribe so you keep up to date for all the future uploads. So yeah, thanks for watching. Bye.